Welcome to Civilnet today. Today we're actually very honored to have as our guest Aren Deyirmenjian, who is the Armenia Representative, the AMAA. AMAA stands for the Armenian Missionary Association of America. It's probably the largest Protestant organization working in Armenia. And we're here to discuss their many endeavors, specifically in the field of education. Thank you for joining us, Aren.
Thank you.
I'm going to start off asking you about your flagship school, which some people have heard of, but many people have not, which is the Vardenis school in the Bangladesh district of Yerevan, as it is called locally. It's quite a unique educational institution. Can you tell us a little bit about the school, which is because all of your work here actually started with this on the education front, and what its plans are and what you see its mandate has been and will continue to be in the future?
The school is a very unique mission field for us. I think we've seen how the impact has grown over the years. There's some 26 years to this project. There was a previous location with a government-owned building, and then we moved to the current location, and we've had very generous donors, the Vardenis family, the Biliazikian families as well, who put in a very unique model that AMAA operates and maintains. So the sense in which it's unique is that it targets only the population of the southwestern district, and we have no school buses. Everyone comes on foot, so it's a neighborhood-oriented school, but it is a large school with almost 800 students at the moment. What's unique about it is the private school setup that we have in place. We do follow a governmental curriculum, but at the same time, this is a school where quality education is very stressed upon, and that quality is passed on to the students. But also, all of this is done tuition free for the students because the donors put in a very unique mission in targeting families, vulnerable families, disadvantaged families who have students coming into our school and receiving this quality education, private school education. And the accessibility factor here is huge. So we're very proud about it, and what we're planning to do with the school in the coming years is also something that we've been working on relating to our vision for the future. So AMA has a lot of humanitarian projects in Yerevan and around Armenia, and we saw the school as a future cluster model, and with that happening, that means a lot of our projects are going to come under the umbrella of the school, and it's going to function also as a community center. So the social centers that we have, we want to merge them into the school. The clinic that we have in Yerevan, also coming into the school and changing its function in a way that we help students and their families have this healthy lifestyle and beyond. The unique mission also includes our Christian education, our whole spiritual dimension that we want to pay attention to, bringing up the child in a way that the holistic approach is working. So we're looking forward to that.
We're going to move on to your new big project, which a lot of people are excited about because I think it's going to be a model for future things, and that is apparently you're in the process of opening up a first school in the regions, which is going to be in Vardenis. But this is not simply it's simply more than a school. It's designed to be a cluster for the region where you're bringing children from a lot of these are very critical border areas. And you're also working in synergy with other organizations. I believe you're working with TUMO on that. Yeah. Can you tell us about your Vardenis project and what that actually means in the future? The success of that project.
So before we go there, I mean, we're doing a pilot now in the Vardenis school where beyond the things that I mentioned, we're trying to also create that synergy in Yerevan, trying to bring in some of our other projects like the social after school program was going to come in there. The clinic that we have in Yerevan is also going to come there, create that cluster. We're going to try it out. Because we do believe in that holistic educational approach that, from different angles, we're trying to see how to bring up this new generation. And while we're testing that out and we see the results, we're thinking of replicating the same model into the regions. We do believe that this is a very much needed project in the regions, more so than in Yerevan. So what's going to happen in Vardenis is that it's not going to be an exact replicate, because we have this approach where it is tailor-made for that community. And as you know, communities in the regions have different needs than what's going on in Yerevan. So in Vardenis, we're starting off now with a KG building, and phase 2 is going to be the high school. But at the same time, as you mentioned, Tumo is going to be there, and some of our other projects are also going to come in there and create this cluster school.
Yeah, I think one thing I forgot to mention is that one of the building blocks of the student base is likely to be Artsakh refugees, which many of them are actually moved to that area.
Yes.
And they're actually playing a key role in the revival of some of these communities, actually.
Yeah, well, I think there's a very big opportunity there to work in the sense that we should keep the Artsakh population in these areas and in other areas as much as we can, because you know the demographics issues has always been there for Armenia, and now there was an influx a couple of years ago of 100,000 people. What do we do so that people find the right motivation to stay in these areas? And I think a private school, let's say a hospital or something else, is a big key factor for a family, for a father of a family, to decide whether they should move or they should stay. And I think this is going to be a game changer in those areas.
I'm sure it is. Let's look forward over the next 20 years, because from what I understand, the idea is to, after Yerevan, when you first do the regional school in Vardenis, you're going to sort of try to replicate this in 4 or 5 other places. What are you hoping to achieve? Because obviously this is being done to impact the country. And in Armenia, you know, small projects like this have far greater impact than they would in other places. So what's your vision over the next 20 years with these cluster of schools?
I might go back a little, and when we took a look about what we want to do in the future and where we want to go, and we're very diverse, we're doing different things, but education has always been one of the things that we saw the biggest impact in. So we took a look at our history. Ever since the Protestant community, the Armenian Protestant community, came out after the events of the 1915, in Aleppo, in Bolis before that, in Beirut, and then towards the west, there's always been a very big pillar that is the education. And we're so proud also to have the only Armenian university in the diaspora, which is the Haigazian University. So taking a look at that, we were convinced that the way forward would be education and schools. So for the next 20 years, 30 years, we're going to take a look at that. We do believe that a cluster school model that is becoming a network in Armenia would bring great change. And I think at the moment in Armenia, that same image that we had in Aleppo, in Beirut, and in the West is not being reflected, because we have one school at the moment. But creating a network has its benefits. We're very sure that at that point where we have a few schools functioning, it's going to create this, you know, a hub, which is a way of bringing up the new generation, in the sense that we believe in the sense that I explained, the holistic education. There's the spiritual element there. There's the different national interests that you mentioned, that we're trying to target areas where also, let's say, the Armenian government, the Armenian state is interested in, and the state is making efforts to activate, to keep the population there. So keeping this parallel, interest close together, I think it's going to achieve a lot.
Well, I know you're a very modest person, but I've had the pleasure of actually, in the year 21, I had an after-school program at your school. Actually, I think it's before you came to Armenia. And I don't think people understand the quality of, one, the school, the physical school, one, which is incredible. Then you have the quality education and the quality of the kids, who come from very diverse backgrounds, many of them from difficult backgrounds. And it was just an absolute joy. And you could see, the light in their eyes, which is something you not necessarily always see when you go to, unfortunately, to many public schools. Let's move on to something which is a big topic for me, which is a patriotic education. Sometimes that isn't stressed enough in public schools. How do you guys address that issue? try to teach a love of the country, love of the culture, the importance of defending it, or things like that. Is that part of your agenda? Is that part of your curriculum?
I think it comes from the values that you portray and the fact that we've made the school very inclusive, speaks to that sentiment. And I think that there's a very important element here that we're trying to show the students that they are important. It doesn't matter what background they come in. And unfortunately in Armenia, as you mentioned, private schools are very inaccessible to the general public, and whatever is quality education, whatever is putting the effort on, making sure that the student is priority, is very expensive, and people cannot afford that. The way that our system works, and we have a great donor base in the United States, that allows us to make this all tuition free. And we've seen that people, when they come from these backgrounds, from tough backgrounds, and you couple that with good education, they always fire up. And we've seen so many success stories in that.
They're hungry.
Yeah, they have something to prove, and quality education just gives them the tools to go and achieve that. So I think in that sense, patriotic interest and patriotic education comes in there as we're putting our values in there and seeing how students react to that, and then they themselves become the patriotic individuals that we want them to see towards Armenia.
One thing that I've noticed is there's obviously good teachers everywhere, even in the toughest schools, in the worst places, they're good teachers because they love to teach. But I've noticed that the teachers in your school tend to be of very high quality across the board. Do you think that is a function, is that a self-selection process of the types of people who are interested come to you? Is it a question of pay, which obviously in Armenia it's an issue because teachers are not paid enough anywhere. They're actually not paid enough here, obviously, even in a greater scale. What do you think explains that? And what is the draw to draw quality educators, to have essentially a uniform group of quality educators, which is quite rare?
Yeah, it's very difficult, and you see how public schools at the moment are suffering from this issue, especially in the regions. And we are making up our plans about Vardenis in such a way that we do not disrupt any of the systems that are in place. We don't want to take away teachers from other schools because we have higher pay. But in that sense, I would also stress the same value-oriented approach. The way we approach our employees, the way we take care of them, the way we provide trainings for them, and the whole culture around the school is very catered around that sense that there is the diaspora approach as well, the way we run schools in Beirut, in Aleppo, in the West. And then that same model, bringing it here. I believe that local teachers are finding that very intriguing, and that's pushing them. And I might say the pay is not that amazing. There are a lot of schools who pay much more than us. But I think the approach that we show, the attention that we show, and the trainings and the culture that we put in the school has a very big effect in them trying to do better.
Did you have, after the ethnic cleansing in Artsakh, a lot of schools did, frankly, even many public schools. Did you guys have any specific programs to address the needs of refugees or bring them in to make sure a certain part of the population is from refugee ranks?
Yes, we did. At that moment, we were a bit over 700 students at the school. And classes were filled up. We were on a waiting list, but we went an extra mile, and we had more than 60 students come in at the school. They stayed, and the good part was also that we hired staff from Artsakh, because AMAA also had 3 kindergartens running in Artsakh, and all those staff had to come here, and we had to provide them somehow a job or an opportunity to continue serving with the organization. So that came in handy when some of the Artsakh students were enrolled as much as we could, and then the teachers as well, and that played a very, very interesting role in how diversity came into play. When you have students from Syria and Lebanon, you have local students, Armenians, you had Artsakhis, and now at the hall you can hear the Artsakh dialect, you can hear the Western Armenian. It was really refreshing to see. So, yeah.
Well, it's very interesting because you bring to, it's interesting you mentioned Tumo at the beginning, because one of the things you know, people sometimes think there's a magic solution in building a country or building a functional country. You know, you have one dictator that orders everything, or there's a magic wand. In fact, there is no magic wand, and there's no one person. It's actually 1,000 steps. It's 1,000 points of light. And I think when you look at it, you know, your school is actually one of them, along with other similar organizations in different fields. How do you see that? How do you measure the transformative effects of, for example, the work that you do with the works that others do? Because I see it. You know, you can see the clusters of, you know, a few good things have a massive impact here. The same way that a few bad things can have overwhelming impact, a few good things. How do you measure your work? How do you measure the impact that you have in different communities that you work in?
I mean, in this field, Eric, I've come to find out that you have to be very careful in the sense that you have to give out as much as it has to be enough for the student to take in, and that's like an incentive for different children coming from different backgrounds to do well in life, but also not give out too much, not to create that dependency, because at some point if you let them go, they have to be, you know, sure enough that they're doing whatever they should be doing, and not being relying on organizations such as us or Tuman and others. So the issue here with nonprofits and doing humanitarian and you know, all this relief work is that you have to measure your input, and then the output is very much the same. I mean, you can see sometimes we're going an extra mile and then the output is still the same, and then we're backing off a bit, seeing that, okay, all they need is a push, they need the tools to do well, and then you know, you can see that happening in different places. We have students who are, you know, much of our students are going to the American University in Yerevan. Some of them are going abroad. They're coming back. They're working in very reputable firms. This is something we're trying to encourage. And the patriotic education that you mentioned, we're very careful also about not losing students to the diaspora. Making sure even if they go out for some time, gain some education, then they're back to make that change inside the communities here in Yerevan or in the region. So that's a very important part of what we're doing, and we're very, very careful about it.
Now, I want to speak with it's a pet issue of mine, and this is less of an issue in Yerevan, but it's more of an issue in the regions. It's actually a more pertinent issue in the regions, which is the issue of martial education. There's a great movement in this country where a lot of younger people, you know, 13 to 15, 16, are essentially educating themselves in the military arts. In some places that's organized, in some places it isn't. But it's becoming a bigger thing. And for the most part, martial education in most schools is actually quite poor. When you go to a place like Vardenis, that becomes 10 times more important because it's literally on the front line. What is your view of the importance of martial education, and what can be done to actually make it much more effective or larger?
I think what's now in place inside the official curriculum in terms of educating students also in the martial aspect is very basic, and we've seen examples of how students get to the army service age and they're not equipped to carry out whatever they should be carrying out. And I think the analysis that we did and the experts that talked to us was that it's also about the mindset. It's also about how you use your mind about these things. And I think at the moment it's more physical than the things that exist. So we're tackling this issue as well, especially as you mentioned in Vardenis, the element of civil defense, that all comes in, and it's very important strategically to the national interest. So we are taking a look at this and how to incorporate a type of education that prepares the mind, prepares the way of thinking that should be in line with whatever things that they should be learning later on. So how do we put that foundation in? And I think here we're going to be having some collaborations with a group of experts on this and making sure that, again, holistically from all sides, intellectually they have to, academically they have to do amazing. And then we're taking a look at the social side. There's a small clinic that's going to be also there to prepare the mind, also in the sense that you grow up in that healthy mindset and not just go and after old age you do what's necessary. I think in that sense the martial also comes and completes it, and then we also have our spiritual education, which also we think is lacking in most schools. I mean, from all sides, when you're preparing the individual to become that outstanding individual in the community there that we want to see, I think this is the perfect platform for that.
Well, Aren, first of all, I want to just commend the work that your organization does, because I think it's, from everything that I've seen from top to bottom, is actually quality. So thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today at Civilnet.